Since Charlie Kirk's assassination, there's been a constant back and forth. On one side, people who recognize his bigotry as an objective truth. On the other, people who want to disprove that truth. And the question is why? Why do so many feel invested in disproving it? I'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I think most want to believe they're fair, open-minded, maybe even Christian in the best sense of the word. So does that mean that those defending him would agree that bigotry taints a person's legacy and that defending him could be seen as endorsing such views? This is the central question. If his bigotry was an irrefutable fact, not a partisan issue and not a debate, doesn't it seem plausible that Charlie just had a way with words? That he could mask his beliefs with seemingly innocuous statements that his followers interpreted as harmless? Now, before we circle back to that, let's take a listen to some of what I call Charlie's least innocuous statements. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. The Civil Rights Act was a mistake. You should be thankful you're not in Africa. Juneteenth should not be a federal holiday. Defenders will say these were taken out of context, but context is supposed to clarify meaning, not erase it. What other context turns "I hope a black pilot is qualified" into anything other than racist in the context of the conversation about DEI that we know he was having when he said that? DEI is about diversity in hiring, not diversity in training, qualifications, or graduating students to become pilots. DEI is about who gets interviewed, not the actual skills of the candidate. When Charlie doubled down on his misunderstanding of DEI while debating a college student about this very quote, Charlie used a telling analogy. He asked, what if we only allowed white players in the NBA? Let's unpack that. Even if you believe that black people excel at basketball, and many do, he implies that white pilots must be better than black pilots. That's not true, and it's racist to suggest it. We've seen black players dominate the NBA because they were given a chance to try out, just as white players have. If most potential black pilots aren't even able to get an interview, why equate these scenarios if not to suggest that black excellence can't exist outside sports? And if knowing the implication of Charlie's words now upsets you, we're getting somewhere. This struggle over his legacy isn't about winning a debate. It's about recognizing words as inherently bigoted, hateful, and divisive. Acknowledging hurdles black Americans face or why immigrants come here because of what we did to their countries is not racist. Yet there's been a lot of gaslighting surrounding these acknowledgments. If you say you value excellence, then why defend someone who questioned black people's right to be assumed excellent? If you say you value freedom, why defend someone who wanted Christianity imposed on schools and laws, stripping others of their freedom of religion? If you say you love America, why defend someone who argued civil rights were a mistake? It would be a contradiction if people who would be horrified to think of themselves as racist are clinging to defenses that are themselves racist. People who think ignoring history or pretending racism is over is neutral, when in fact it's taking sides.